Welcome, my gold digger friends. Today we have another great do-it-yourself project I'm working on, and this one is going to be make your own Gold Rush Nugget Bucket. I was looking at purchasing one and it looked pretty simple. Therefore, I decided to try to make one myself. I've done some research and I've built some plans on what I'm about to do to make this product a reality. First, the most important thing was to find a funnel, and I did, and this is a beer funnel that I bought. It's a 12-inch funnel. I didn't really care for the rings inside, but I might silicone those up. And what I'm gonna do is cut it to fit in that bucket tightly. And it's a long spout there, so because of that, I got a bigger bucket. And that should give me some leadway without having to cut the spout. The bucket I got was from Academy Sports, and it's a baseball bucket. It's a 6-gallon. I was looking at either getting a 6-gallon or a 7-gallon for multiple purposes. One purpose, it's taller, as you can see, which is going to be a lot more helpful for your back, having to bend over less far while you're classifying material, compared to that 5-gallon bucket over next to it, the white one. But it also gives some room where I can fit that funnel down without it bottoming out at the bottom. So I can have my collection tray, which is over at the bottom over there, a concentration bowl, or whatever you want to call that, underneath it. And the goal is not to have to cut the spout at the bottom. It was really hard to find a 6-gallon bucket locally. The only place I could really find one was Academy Sports. It is a baseball bucket, and keep in mind that the lids of a standard 5-gallon bucket do not fit on this bucket and secure down. That wasn't an issue for me because I don't really plan on putting a lid on here. The main purpose I need is for that funnel to fit down inside and the classifiers to fit inside, which they do. I will go through the process of making this and show you what I'm doing as I go along. And so far, my total investment that I've spent was $15 for that funnel and $8 for that bucket. And if I can get it to work as well as the original one, that's a pretty cheap Gold Rush Nugget Bucket. I think they're running for over $100 or so. So to get by for under 20 is not bad, especially if you already have classifiers. So I will be back as the project unfolds. All right, step 1 is to cut this rim enough so that it will fit inside the circumference of this bucket tightly. I believe this bucket is tapered, so it just needs to be a little bit smaller than the circumference at the top, so you could wedge it down in there so it stays put. I'm going to use a jigsaw with a metal blade to do this. Hopefully I don't cut my finger off. Always be safe. That's right. Got that cut, and you can see it fits in there quite nicely. What I did is I actually cut it, and how I measured it the first time to cut was I actually put this on top of the rim and put a flashlight in the bucket, and when I see the light shining through the funnel, I marked it with a dry erase fine tip marker all the way around where that light was shining through the funnel. So I kind of knew where the top of this would be in relation to the funnel. And I cut it a little bit bigger than I anticipated I needed it to be, and I spent the time sanding it with sandpaper so I could try to get a really nice fit so that nothing's gonna get by. And I kind of sanded it at the bottom of it to kind of give it a wedge underneath there. And it turned out nicely. Now, you can see, you can put the classifier right on top of it, and it works out quite nicely. Let me move that up a little bit. There you go. And if you wanted, put 2 classifiers on there, and you'll be able to go right into that funnel. All right, on to the next step. Decided to take the stickers off, and that was a whole big pain. I hate stickers. Who else agrees with that? Try to take them off and they all rip apart. Finally got them off. Now, also what I took off was their advertisement, Academy Sports. And in case you want to do that too, it comes off really easy with some acetone. Just rub it on that paint and it'll come off. And I left the A because I thought that was kind of cool. But I took off the Academy Sports. That may end up getting drilled out anyways. And that leads us to the next step, is to drill some bottom holes down here to let the water escape. I think I'm gonna go with 1 inch. I'm gonna use a spade bit. And I think I'm just gonna do like 3 1-inch holes around here on each side to let the water out. And I'll probably cut out the big circle up here too, like they had of the nugget bucket. So that's the next step. Academy's gone, stickers are gone. Let's start cutting some holes. Got that done. What I ended up doing is drilling 6 holes, pretty much evenly spaced around the bottom to let the water out. What I did was measure from the bottom, kind of line it up with this graphic, and measured 1.5 inches up, made a dot, drilled the center of it with a 1-inch spade bit. Pretty much did it all the way around. Next thing is going to have to be cut out that center one, which I'm still trying to figure out how big I want to make that. But I'll be back with that. All right. Got it done. Ended up having to lose the A because of the big hole I had to cut in there. However, I only made 1 big hole because I did not really understand why they had 3 big holes like that in the original nugget bucket. To me, the only purpose of that hole is to get this container out and to put it back in. So to have 3 of them in there just seems like it was just gonna decrease the structural strength of the bucket, and it was a lot more work. But by doing that, I got to keep the other A. Yay. Now, this seems like it's gonna work out. I'll have to go test it. You can see here, maybe you can see, I silicone those rings up to keep stuff from getting caught in there. Here's a little bucket you can use to dump water in if you want to do that. And if I want to, I can use a bigger collection tray. And here I just made a miner's moss to put at the bottom to capture all the small gold so it wouldn't float away. Got a whole bunch of holes 6 of them to be exact, 1-inch holes I used with a spade bit to cut through. This is a 6-gallon bucket, so it should be a lot easier on the back, not having to bend over so far. And with this size of a funnel, there wasn't, with a 5-gallon bucket, it would have been too low, I think. But this looks like it's gonna work. I did add another thing that I just purchased to this setup, which I believe is gonna make it even better than the original nugget bucket. Wow, amazing. It already appeared almost instantaneously. All right. Got this thing, and I think this is gonna take this nugget bucket to a whole nother level. You can see this is raised right here to allow water flow to go down, and amazingly enough, this circle is exactly perfect for this container. I mean, that thing just fits perfectly. I mean, keep it centered, keep it out of the lowest water, and to raise it up a little bit. I think, and this is going to be your secondary collection tray. So unlike the regular nugget bucket, all you have is this collection tray. If some of the small gold floats out, you probably lose it. However, with this one, you got it overflowing out of this container, trapping most of it in here. And then if some small gold gets out, it's going to fall into this container and then has to overflow over here out of the bucket. So that's going to end up making this, I think, perform better. And here you go. Let me give you a look here. See? You got, and it's a little smaller, and that's good because now it can overflow over the sides and then come out the bucket, you know, and then the bucket will just, the water will come out this holes after it overflows. And this tray is about the same height of those holes, so it should act as a completely second collection tray. And you got this like that, you know, and then you have your funnel on top of it, and it's going to be pretty nifty. I hope you guys like this little do-it-yourself nugget bucket. Nugget bucket extreme. I will put links for all the stuff I bought in case you want to recreate it. So I went and tested this nugget bucket at the creek twice, and I decided to make some revisions to this post before I put it up so you guys would know the testing that I had to change in order to get this to work. Last time I went, it worked out pretty well, but I did have to classify down to under 1/8 of an inch, which I would prefer not to do because that is a pain trying to classify down that far at the creek. So I want to get it so you don't have to go below 1/4 inch classification. So the problem I was having was I made a funnel last time to go inside this funnel because that one was too quick and it was too small of a hole. And to make that, all I did was, there was a 3-pack of funnels like this, and I just cut this one down to make a smaller funnel and cut up here or whatever to make this, and it was actually the smaller size of this 3-pack funnel kit. So after I made that, this was a smaller hole, and I cut it back even further and using like a 1/2 inch PVC tube or tubing to put on there so it would cause the water to fill up faster. I still have to test this one out, but I tested it with over 1/8 of an inch stuff, and it went right through. So the real test will be at the creek, but you can see if it works, I'll probably put that in like that and silicone it in, or epoxy it in, or something like that. Probably silicone. Let's keep it from leaking. However, my other revision here is when I was doing this, you realize why the original Nugget Bucket had stands on that funnel. And for the most part, it didn't happen, but sometimes when I filled it up with too much material, that funnel caved in and I lost gold into the overflow section of my gold concentrator. So to get around that, let me show you what I came up with. As you can see, I put some shelves inside there to hold the funnel, and all those are mirror support that you put for to hang mirrors up. And of course, I'm not doing it how they tell you to do it, but all I did was take these mirror things, and I figured I would show you that one before I finished it. Of course, you have to measure how far your funnel is going to go down, and I have this right underneath the funnel to give it some support so it doesn't, and I just measured down from the top. But with this, since mine, oh, it's hard to show you. With these, I have these nuts going in between these big sections here. You can see, and that makes it look clean on the outside. And I just drilled it in part way, put a washer in there and a nut, and on the inside, I just put these, here you go, and you can just see I just have that up, and that's going to wedge into the small part of the funnel, and that's going to rest on the bottom of the funnel. So if it does start caving in, it's not going far, and it's not going to tilt sideways and dump all your stuff out of your concentration bowl. I will do the third test at the creek here soon. Last time it worked really well when I was classifying down to under 1/8 of an inch. It caught, I don't know, like 15, 20 pieces of gold from that section and a whole bunch of lead right in the concentration bowl, and it didn't even overflow into the secondary collection tray. So there's some potential here that this could work as good or if better than their regular Nugget Bucket. All right, I will show you the completion. This is revision number 8,252 of the homemade Nugget Bucket. Well, maybe not that many, but I have done some revisions. And this one was probably the last to it. It's working pretty decently. What I did was put that little funnel in here and I epoxied it. I tried first with silicone and realized that the tons of rocks going through there is just ended up eating up the silicone. Epoxy is the better route. It's a lot harder of a substance than silicone. I put a little dab of silicone on the inside of the funnel where it met with the larger funnel, just to make sure it's sealed. And you could probably use epoxy with these rims too if you wanted to do that instead of silicone. It'd probably hold up better. But it's working pretty good. I got it so I don't have to use anything less than a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch classifier. Now, in that regards, it does sometimes clog up this little funnel. If there's a lot of material going through that at once, sometimes it will clog up. I just took a little piece of metal and poked through the hole when it does that. It doesn't happen very often, but if you're feeding a lot of material at once, it can clog up if you're only using if you're not going below a 1/4 inch classifier. But that was my main goal, was not to have to use it like the original Nugget Bucket where you had to classify so small that it was such a pain at the creek. I mean, I'd prefer me not have to do that. And you can see the inside, there's actually quite a bit of room from where that little funnel is to the edge of this. And because of that, I cut some of this funnel down a little bit. And with that in mind, you could probably get away with using a 5-gallon bucket that way if you cut this down further, because you have some leeway on that. So you don't really probably have to have a 6-gallon bucket. You could probably get away with a 5-gallon bucket. But that's my latest revision. It works pretty well. It does catch stuff, and you can, you know, have it reduce out some of the material, so you don't have to pan so much. If you're going to classify anyways, seems like it's the better route to go. Now, since I'm only classifying down to 1/4 inch, I went with a bigger catch container just to prevent gold loss. This is just, you know, a Ziploc container. I'll put links on most of these supplies in the description below. You can check it out, but this is just a little bit bigger of a Ziploc container, and with some miner's moss in there. And I went with the bigger route because the material was bigger. It worked well, really well, if you were classifying to 1/8 of an inch. I mean, you could have got away with using the smaller catch container. But I did notice a small bit of gold loss. Really small pieces were falling out when you were using the smaller catch container. So I went with a bigger catch container to prevent that from happening. And so far so good. It's working out quite nicely. I will show some videos of me testing it out at the creek. And it catches gold, especially with the miner's moss. I mean, I've had some pretty good success with it. And it reduces how much you have to pan quite dramatically. So, this is my last update on this, and it's been a success so far, so I'll show you some footage on the creek. Until next time, y'all take care. So, like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to making more in the future. Peace out.